Hi.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me. It's Wednesday morning, and it's the 24th day of March, 2020. And what do you know? We all woke up this morning, so thank God we made it through another day. We made it. Everyone who is joining me, I'm so grateful to see you here, health and well being, and that you are taking care of yourselves in spite of this virus. You're staying indoors. Hey, are you all staying indoors? Michigan is under lockdown. So, my friends in Michigan, you're all staying indoors, right? Friends and family and having folks come over to pass the time. We're not passing the time. We're staying indoors and staying away from folk, right? Because we don't know whom we have interacted with in the. Just recently, I saw on my timeline, on my Facebook timeline, that someone had a birthday party 2 weeks ago and she died on Monday, right? So at the time she was already carrying the virus. Maybe she didn't know. Maybe she thought it was just a cough or a cold. And so everybody at that party needs to go get tested. Have, transmitted anything to any people of color who live in the suburbs. I imagine that you're getting some flack from our Caucasian neighbors. Yeah, because they probably are thinking that people of color are the ones transmitting the virus, whether you're Asian or black, but it's hitting Caucasians even more. And I have some interesting data to share with you that I came across yesterday. As I collected, the World Health Organization collected data from Germany, France, China, Italy, and Spain. And across the board, men are more susceptible to the coronavirus than women. And they tried to understand it. And when they examined it, there are a couple of things that became clear. Men practice riskier behaviors than women. It doesn't happen right away. People ostracize you and push you away and say all kinds of things, but it's like you knew something was going to come anyway. I've been saying for years that men need to settle down and be with one person. And I've said it over and over, when you have family life, you go home at the end of the day. Instead, if you're single and you're out there running, ends up being high. You end up with high blood pressure. Sometimes you don't even realize that's what bacteria from different people without even realizing it. And I've been saying it for years. When you have family life, you will go home at the end of the day because your family wants you home, and you won't be out drinking and and living the life of Riley. But so many men found that to be much more appealing and more glamorous than having family life, and now we're all paying for it. So they say that because men have, and men too, you guys tend to not eat what you're supposed to. So even when your wives, your girlfriends, your moms, your aunts, your sisters, your lady friends tell you don't eat that, you still eat it anyway. You say that's being a man. So you order up a steak, you pull into the store, you order a Big Mac, have a big hamburger, and eat stuff that does not help your immune system. And now here we are, more than women. That's not cool. So what's going to happen? How is the human race going to continue if more men, if there aren't men to have sex with women, to procreate, to continue the race? You see what I mean? We need you guys. We never said we didn't need you. We need men. Even if we did, it wasn't because nobody was supporting women, especially black women, right? In other cultures, you may not hear we need to rechange and reframe our messaging and reframe our lifestyles. So I'm hoping going forward, coming out of this coronavirus, that we all are going to recognize that we have to change our behavior. Listen, I used to say, eat properly. You can't wake up in the mornings. I'm like, who eats a donut? Who eats sausage? Right? And he thought he was living the life of Riley. He thought being single was glamorous and having multiple partners was a thing. He never admitted to it, but he cheated. Styles of men, and even those who are married, when you're away from home, you drink and you hang out with the guys. Just think about this, guys. You go out with other men, bonding, you say that you're doing, and you are at the bar, and you're all dipping your hands into the peanut on the bar counter. You don't know where some of these folks are coming from. They could have just walked right out of the bathroom without washing their hands, because people don't wash their hands. You don't know what they just touched. And it's like a petri dish. It's just filled with bacteria. You touch all those surfaces. So all of you guys who in the last 3 weeks, this virus is no joke. And even for people who have no underlying, you can't do it to me. She's like, this is like 3 o'clock in the evening. She's like, do it, Mom. So I did it. And she said, wow, Mom, you're pretty good. And I said, that's because I practice yoga. I'm part of yoga is deep breathing exercises, holding it in, hold your breath and exhale and focusing, right? Seconds. I had no idea that I was increasing my lung capacity. So right now, I'm going to suggest everybody hold your breath and count to 10. And then increase it and increase it so you increase your lung capacity. So while you're at home, don't just sit there. Walk up and down the stairs, walk around your house, go outside, walk around, right? Increase your lung capacity because this thing, once it gets in, here in Detroit, we lost a community leader last night. He's someone I've met before in the nonprofit arena. So those of us in the nonprofit arena, in the nonprofit space in Detroit, you tend to know of people. And I was very surprised that he died. He had no underlying health conditions, right? Rest well, my friend. He had no underlying health conditions, and yet he suffered. He just succumbed to the virus, and he's gone. He's no longer with us. Young man in his 40s and left a young family behind, and many friends and well-wishers and supporters, and had a great contribution to make to the cultural died of the virus yesterday or the day before because the virus kills. She's 36. She had no underlying health conditions. So like I said, folks, practice. Who were just like, that's just her. She just tune it out. Well, here we are. Practice healthy habits. I've been saying it for years. Oh, you just don't. My ex-boyfriend used to say, well, what do we do? Because you don't smoke, you don't drink. And I'm like, so when you get together with people, that's what you do? I'm like, I don't smoke, I don't drink. I said, we can have a conversation. We can watch a movie. There are other alternatives. Don't know what their story is, right? But all I know is that this virus is not a joke. This morning, you all got the news that Prince Charles of Britain has it. That's no surprise, is it? No, from the pit to the palace. This virus is no respecter of persons. It's a leveler and it's leveling the playing field. The only difference with Prince Charles is that he is who he is and he has access to resources, right? But as far as what? No respecter of persons, right? I'm fine. And I forgot to ask you, thank you for reminding me of that. I am very well out when it becomes more overwhelming. Have you noticed that in Michigan, they have stopped adding the numbers up because it's now exponential and it will cause severe anxiety among people, right? So be very, very careful of how much information you take in. Do you see what I mean? Tune it out just enough to be informed, right? They all have our cell phone numbers. So if anything is going to happen in your community or in the state or nationally, they are going to notify us. Some of it we can't do without. I watched a movie on Netflix last night. Actually, I did more than that. I did more than one. Just to tune it out, right? Because it gets to be too much, right? In the story going. And in the midst of all of this, maybe it gets forgotten because you can take in a lot with it. Well, that's good for you. Know your limits. It's good for everyone. When you think about how elected officials are profiting from the coronavirus, it makes all of us want to think about, well, how does this happen? And by the way, before I go any further, at noon today, whether it's noon Eastern, who is the head of the Catholic Church, and they're in which country? Let me see. Let me just do your geography real quick. Europe, and that the Pope, who is the head of the Catholic Church, is you're listening to me, right? It's suggesting that we all say the Lord's barred the skies and ask God for mercy. You know why? Morning, they said the death rate in Spain has surpassed the death rate in China, that was the epicenter of the virus. Are you all hearing? Right? So recently I saw where a local pastor here in Detroit had services on Sunday in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of the governor saying don't, he still had service. I called him out. I said it's and bawled me out, but it's because it is irresponsible because you don't know who has the virus. He's opening himself to a lawsuit right? And he's also opening himself to being sanctioned. I mean, come on now. The governor says she's not going to sanction churches if they violate. I'm streaming. Stream Hope. I've been saying it for years. It's one of those things that I said for years was going to happen. And again, nobody listened. I did say this time was going to come. And here we are, right? So I'm encouraging all of us at noon today, let's just say the Lord's Prayer, send up a prayer and ask God of heaven if he would so incline his ear to hear what the people are saying, to hear the people begging for mercy. And when you do it with a contrite heart. Recognize that God has power that you don't have. Don't go into the prayer with thinking of, well, I don't really believe in God anyway, and I'm just doing this. If that is your posture, then don't do it. Don't even bother, right? Go into it acknowledging that right now we're in the midst of a crisis, and we don't into New York City in the last 3 weeks. They say you need to go quarantine yourself. So I don't know how a lot of people are faring. I have family in New York City. I have family in one of the boroughs of New York. I am praying because some of them have, I don't know if you have family in New York, but I do. And I am telling you, I am praying, right? I don't want to, it's just something. So at noon today, Lord's Prayer, right? You know the Lord's Prayer? It starts like this: Our Father who art in heaven. Okay, so go look it up on your phone. And at noon today, if you've never heard the words, maybe I should just post the words. We're going to say this at noon today. Stage now where the Pope is saying, not even him praying is helping. He's saying we got to look up and ask for prayer. And in the midst of this, we found that a group of American senators had information that this virus was going to be destructive and apocalyptic, and they did not warn the public, but they called their buddies and friends. I'm going to read to you a story from, why would the Pope say that? I don't know. Why wouldn't he? I'm going to read to you a story that I found on The Guardian, and it cost 80,000 and 1.72 million of his holdings a week before the stock market crashed. Are you listening? And while in public, he was insisting that the government was capable of handling the virus, but to his well-connected constituents at the Capitol Hill Club, because you know there's a social club at the Capitol in DC, right? Well, you have to be worth a certain amount to get in, and they know you and all that. Anyway, at the Capitol Hill Club, he was telling his friends and supporters that the virus, listen, was much more aggressive in its transmission than anything we have seen in. This was not something that he disclosed to the public. He was in a Senate intelligence briefing. Do you all remember when they were telling us that all the senators were in a private closed door session and they didn't say anything? And to my surprise, Senator Dianne Feinstein of San Francisco from California went into this meeting, and she didn't come out and call a press conference and tell the rest of us that this stuff was going down. Then the stock market crashed, and these people sold off all their stock. So they were profiting from the virus. This is why I say that they must have had some kind of inkling and must have had some idea of what it is that can treat this virus, and they're applying it. Because the president tweeted the other day that azithromycin, which is a known antibiotic, something that is commonly available, right? I think it's in something like hydrogen peroxide or something. So it's commonly available, right? That drug is commonly available. When combined together, it's showing potential that it can. But people, you can't just go out and use drugs because you don't know what the long-term side effects are. But they had some kind of idea. But the thing to me was antibiotics can treat this, because think about it. When you go in the emergency room with the virus, they're going to give you some stuff to treat it. You don't exactly know. They don't really tell you, but some of it is antibiotics, right? So why wouldn't you take antibiotics for it? The problem with this drug is, with this virus, is the thing about it is that it gets into your lung and cuts off your air supply. You don't want it to get to your lung. You want to treat it before it gets to that stage, right? So that it's contained. Even Russia this morning, finally, they're going to shut down. They said that. So if Russia is going to slow down, I mean to say, what's the problem, right? But look at these senators over here playing footloose with people's lives. Some of them are going to find that they find out that if people knew this, as the relief bill was finally passed, and how much money people are going to get. They're still saying people are going to get 600. It's about people earning a certain amount, not going to get a stimulus check. What about disabled folks? Man, I'm telling you, the ramifications that are going to ensue after this virus, I hope you all don't forget. Because now we all know that we could work from home. Now we all know that pregnant women could stay home and disabled folks could stay home. We didn't have to get on a subway or get up every morning 5 days a week to drive there. We could have worked from home all this time. They could have just given us laptops and gave us logins to log into the company's servers from. Think about it. Where the folios. We all need to take a break and just think seriously about things. We're not thinking. You see, now that you have time to think about stuff like this, right? How come these people can just become a billionaire like that? Johnson & Johnson, the people, all of a sudden, something is wrong. The stock market is a ticker tape parade. They're just inflating. It's paper money. And if the Dow Jones is down, the Dow Jones is not for us. The Dow Jones is for rich people who have inflated stock values. That corporations can get a bailout? It's a slush fund. But you and I can't even get a check for $600. There are some inequities in this system that need to be ratified. And we need to think about these, to think on. They're going to massage you when this is over, so you forget about all of this. But you need to think about this. Think about what kind of America do we want to march into after this virus is over. This virus has come, and maybe its intention was not to cause us to pause and think, but now that we are thinking, now that we have paused, meditate and think on what kind of future do you want to have? Do you want to continue to have a future where you have to get up every day for 40 hours a week, and at the end of it all, just like you saw your parents and grandparents, they retire after working how many years and they die within life? And you have to ask yourself, start asking questions. How did they make that? Where does that money come from? Start asking the questions. You're going to be surprised. So you can print money when it suits you, but you can't have people at the bottom. Why are we paying mortgages, and why are we being penalized when we don't pay our mortgages on time? But now you can freeze it. You can stop people from being evicted and stop people from being homeless. Why was each hospital only of our republic? This is our country. This is our republic. We need to ask questions. We're contributing citizens. Why is rural have access is leveling the playing field just a bit? Because only the titans are far more exposed to the virus and just maybe can't find, there are too many of them to find access to the treatment. I don't know. I am just saying that we don't have faith anymore. We don't believe anymore. We stopped believing, and now we don't have any hope. If this is the republic that was started by the founding fathers, it was built on faith. Why did we let go of that? Yes, we can evolve over time. Yes, we can embrace and adopt new ideas. That's called evolution. We evolve. Enough to run back to. Do you see what I'm saying? What do I think of Joe Biden? I think he's going to be the next president, senator. And what is going to emerge out of this crisis for sure is that we are now going to think of who we elect as president. Yeah, we can like you and like your personality, but are you able to run the country? Are you able to run a government? Right? There's nothing wrong with Joe Biden's mental state. What's wrong with his mental state? Has he been diagnosed as bipolar or makes sense? That's baloney. We've all been watching Joe Biden for years now because he was about government. I ever find myself in a position like in Russia where the president of Russia is about to change the constitution so he stays in power. That model. We don't want that. But we certainly want people who are accountable and who don't feel that they are entitled so that they have more control than anybody else. The way the system is structured right now, it seems to me that this guy who is a senator, he could only call his wealthiest supporters to Capitol Hill and to tell them, Sell off your stock in healthcare because the stock market is going to crash. I have stock in what's that called? Tenet healthcare system. It's worth zero right now. Insider trading. So guess what? I couldn't switch it around. Hello. Just in case. I'm just putting that out there. So they had access to this and didn't do anything. Guys, what I'm saying is we have to wake up at some point. We can't just be fanatical. We can't just blindly support people because you like them and you get into a herd mentality and just like them. We're going to have to look at people and say, let me know. At the end of the day, they're going to go sit in a room and they're going to come out of the room and make decisions that don't benefit your hard work. You're still owe some money on your 30-year mortgage. Your 401k is caught up in a stock market and you are not benefiting from it except the titans. So tell me again how you're benefiting from this. Yeah, exactly. We're voting on people who we like and we're not looking at the facts. I know here we are saying in New York City, between you and I, that's 100,000 people who don't know that they have the virus because they haven't been tested. We're saying the numbers are going to increase in the next 3 days because that's the pattern. Have you guys noticed? Every 3 days, the numbers increase. Have you also noticed that by the time someone is diagnosed and hospitalized, they die within 8 days? Have you all noticed that pattern? So by the time they get to the hospital and they're thrown on a ventilator and they pump drugs over group or the 60 and over group. Crazy. Now, all of us, we have a lot to think about. Primarily, we're going to think about our health, our physical health. That has to be paramount. We have to think about our physical health. We have to think about our mental health. So we're going to tune out some of this news. What decisions do I need to make about my life and about the way that I think? Antsy. I just want to get out of the house a little bit and get going. It's not possible and it's not practical. And it is mass suicide. I wish they would show their pictures that Italy seeing of hospital floors filled with coffins. Maybe that will wake us up. So going forward, we're all going to take better care of ourselves. You got to watch over what you eat. Don't drink. For the love of God, do not drink. Don't have a drink before bed. When you go out to commiserate with your friends, avoid the drinking. I know when guys get together, they just pour the beer on and the whiskey and everything, and it's all hands on deck, and man, it's this. And you all eat peanuts and chips. Stuff that the next morning you wake up with a headache. Your blood pressure is high. You pee too much. You know something is wrong, and you promise you're going to change your behavior, but you keep it moving. You guys, let's go back to it's okay to be normal and healthy and have one partner. It's okay to just have one person. It really is. Don't listen to your friend who you're probably going to learn has the virus pretty soon because he was busy clocking from one to the other like he had to prove something. Right? Take care of yourselves. Bernie, but it's a good idea. Some of his ideas are good, but he had a heart attack. So if he goes into office and he makes it and then he has a heart attack, the vice president becomes president. So who is he going to choose as a vice? So that they don't become tainted by it. So they're letting the people who are in power run the conversation and have control of it, because Biden or Elizabeth Warren or might have an issue with Elizabeth Warren because she's not terribly popular all over the country. You know, she's popular, right? That's how I see it's going. But Biden, I'm telling you, it's going to be a different America. We're going to wake up one day, and when we realize how damaging this virus has been and how many people's lives have been lost, it's going to be a different day. It's going to be a whole different reality. And I want us to be prepared for that. And I want us to know that that is coming and that we need to be prepared. And the best tool to survive that is your faith. You are not going to know why you are standing. You're just going to have to trust God that you wake up and find yourself standing. Expect to get the phone calls and the text messages and to see it on your timeline of people whom you know or have known use the toilet and not wash your hands. You can't eat without washing your hands. If you go to a restaurant and they provide you with a menu, I use hand sanitizer before I touch the food. Y'all do that, right? You can't touch the menu that a million people have touched, that you can't trust the restaurant to clean it down. They probably don't. So wash your hands with hand sanitizer. There's some things we're going to have to do. We're going to have to make sure our homes are germ-free. So when you get home, I hope you're all practicing this. Your work clothes and the street clothes you wore don't enter your bedroom or your living space, right? You strip and it goes into the laundry because they say laundry detergent kills it. Okay? Change your bed sheets. Some people don't change their bed sheets for 3 months. Change your bed sheets once a week. Keep Lysol in your bedroom and spray it out. And for the love of God, can we open our windows? Especially in the Midwest and in the North. For a whole 6-month period, people don't open their windows. All that same smell, all the cooking smell, all the human body odor smell just wrapped up in there. Open our windows. We're going to have to change the way to lead us. We're going to change how we look at them. Yeah, I like you a lot. You're very likable. But are you going to do this? Knows who Brenda Jones is? She's president of the Detroit City Council. Has been a community organizer and activist for many, many years in the Detroit area. Well, she wants to run in the seat that Rashida Tlaib has. Rashida Tlaib, the congresswoman, want us to look like. What are we going to look like? We've changed irrevocably. This has some permanent, significant ramifications, right? And we're going to have to get back to basics over, and we get back into houses of worship. We're going to have to say, what is, or am I going there because they truly are demonstrative? The ancients were not wrong. The sages of time were not wrong. They left us with history, and they left us with records that in times of crisis and struggle, we need to look up. We need to know that we are holding on to an unchanging hand, no matter what betides us, no matter what comes. They're not wrong, and we have forgotten. But we need to recognize that there's some things that the more they change, some negative experiences, so have I. But that is going to change based on your own personal, have to change that. The Bible, the Quran, all the ancient scriptures, that's the record. The hymns that we used, that our grandparents and parents used to sing. And we used to sit in the back of the church like, can this be over? I am so bored. Because we used to think, and then we went to college and got educated and thought that all the answer was in our intellect. Am I not speaking the truth? Isn't it the truth? We thought all the answers were in our intellect. We thought if we got 20 more degrees, the more we could read is the wiser we would become. The ancients had it right. You need faith in spite of all of it. You realize you're reading someone else's ideas. That's a challenge. The challenge is, right? So I want to challenge all of us today at 12 noon. We're going to say the Lord's Prayer. Make it out of this. I don't know if my family are going to make it through this. I don't know about my friends, people in my day. This is what is going to happen. Then I recognize that I don't have the answers. And the scientists don't have the answers. But God, you do. And I'm asking you for mercy. At 12 noon today, let's make that our prayer. For what the American people experienced and went through. It's literally like they pulled the wool across our eyes so we couldn't see. And now our parents, our grandparents, our friends, our loved ones, people whom we commiserate, God help us all. So my prayer today is the Lord's Prayer. Can we just end with that? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us for our nation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. And all broadcast with your friends. Share this broadcast on your timelines. More about the issues that matter. Go to my website, harrietkammack.com, as well as visit my page on Anchor FM, where you can become podcast, Google Podcast, share everybody, one tribe, every nation, every tongue, in every language. We're going to say that our